in Appleton, Wisconsin just a few weeks ago, and Chuck Baldwin, running on the Constitutional Party, he was there, and I went up and introduced myself to him as a state senator from Oklahoma, and he looked at me and just dismayed. He said, "I can't get on the ballot in Oklahoma." And I said, "Brother, I'm trying to help you." One of my colleagues this year asked me, he said, "Randy, why in the world do you always run this ballot access? I mean, you run it every year. What are you doing? Are you trying to find competition for yourself?" And I said, "No, I'm trying to find competition for you." And Pat, before I go any further, because I know Charlie is sitting right here squirming in his seat, you introduced me as someone who supports direct democracy. I want to tell you, I hate direct democracy with all of my heart, mind, and soul. I am not for direct democracy under any circumstance. I am for the INR. And I'll tell you why I am. My first 2 years I was up here, I ran the TABOR initiative, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. And I fought as hard as I could with my caucus and with the other side to try and get a hearing on the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. After all, coming from a business background, I thought I was going to come across the turnpike, come to Oklahoma City, share my wonderful ideas. Everybody's going to say, "Brogdon, where have you been all our life?" I was going to get some bills passed, go home, and live under the sun. Well, it's not quite that way. But I initiated, or I wrote the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, thinking there's nothing wrong with allowing government to grow at the same pace as my paycheck and your paycheck. You know, that's fair. My second 3 years that I've served in the Senate, our state budget grew 31%. The Oklahoma economy grew about 6%. Can you imagine that? Now let me tell you what. Once you send your money to a politician, he or she will spend it. No question about it. It's gone. So I thought the best thing to do is maybe not send so much of it up there. Let's you keep it in your pocket. So I ran the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. I guess you could have went ahead and just marked 666 on my forehead because I was the devil man for about 3 years. Agency directors and the public education system and everyone who has their hand out for your money blasted what we were doing. So I was quite frustrated. And I had a fellow call me one day and said, "Randy, we understand you've tried to get this Taxpayer Bill of Rights on passed in the Senate over the last couple of years. You haven't been successful. How would you like being involved in an initiative petition process?" To be honest with you, I've never been involved with one. I've never signed a petition before, to my knowledge. Didn't exactly know what it was all about, but Paul's organization contacted me, and we had many discussions over a several months period of time, and they gave me full access to write the language, and that was my main concern. It's been addressed here. Sometimes you could have an INR, and you can mess it up if you're not careful. So we were very diligent in crafting a superior initiative, a Taxpayer Bill of Rights. And the reason we're here today is because of that. The reason Paul is in the problem that he's in here in the state of Oklahoma is because he and a couple of other of our friends stuck their necks out for no other reason than to help the people, the citizens of Oklahoma. You know, and I'm thinking, what a noble cause this is. It is an opportunity to petition the politicians. Now listen, I'm an elected official, and I tried to go through the elected process. I wanted to go through the committee hearings. I wanted an opportunity to debate this on the Senate floor. You see, I knew that we had the right idea. No doubt the citizens of Oklahoma are sick and tired of government corruption, government overspending, out of control. And I knew that the people were with me. Yet I could not get my colleagues to be with me. That's why we ran an initiative petition. It is one of the most, I think, precious rights that we have to protect. And I agree with what's been said. This is not direct democracy. It's far from it. It's part of the process. And I too am concerned about, you know, just voting on everything. Just and let me give you a quick, and I'm off key, off track already, but there's so much that I feel like I want to talk to you about, and I don't have time. Several years ago, we had the lottery, and our governor, in his finite wisdom, told us that it was going to really take care of education. I mean, we were going to have so much money for education. It's for the kids. Y'all love the kids, right? Well, of course it didn't. I mean, there's only been 40 other states that have the lottery that has not, and it hasn't corrected the education system. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of people in my district that wanted the lottery. And I'd come home on the weekends and my phone would be ringing, and Brogdon, why are you not going to let us have the lottery? You know, you scoundrel, what's wrong with you? And I would say, did you read the bill? No, I did. I read it. It will have no positive effect, very little positive effect financially on schools, but it will have a major financial effect in the negative sense with our social ills and problems that it will bring to the state. Because here in Oklahoma, the lottery is in our Constitution is into the same section of law as Class 3 gambling. That's Las Vegas. Okay, so we knew, some of us knew, because we read the bill, that if in fact we passed the lottery, it would open up Class 3 gambling. Today in Oklahoma, we have 89 casinos since then. So you have to be careful with INRs. You better know what you're doing. You better craft the language properly. And you better stick to the Constitution as you're crafting the language. It's been also talked about today, transparency. And one of my, probably the greatest accomplishments legislatively that I have had is last year we passed Senate Bill 1, which was the Taxpayer Transparency Act, and it was modeled off of the Congressional Transparency Act. I remember sitting up in their bread one Saturday morning. I opened up the newspaper and it gave an overview of Dr. Coburn's bill, and I thought, ooh, that sounds pretty good. And I immediately started drafting legislation to do the same thing. And I'm happy to tell you that through the entire process, through all the committee, now what I'm getting ready to tell you is an astounding feat in and of itself, because keep in mind it's my legislation that I'm talking about. I went through all the committee, the Senate, the House debate, the Senate debate, and we had one no vote through the entire process. It was an amazing and astounding moment in my life. And once again, I was reminded that we the people have an opportunity to make a difference. And you know what? You couldn't argue against transparency in government. I can tell you some of my colleagues wanted to, but you can't say that out loud. Now I will tell you, on the day before the governor was to sign the bill, the governor even made it part of his State of the State speech on the first day of session. When he talked about the openness in government and the transparency bill that was going to be presented this year, I was all the way in the back of the House in the joint session. I was the first one on my feet, and I started yelling and screaming and hand clapping. And to startle the governor, he looked up. And then pretty soon all my colleagues looked around and, well, Brogdon liked it, so they're all standing up clapping with me. But we got that bill passed. But the day before the governor was going to sign the bill, I intercepted an email from the state chamber issuing a warning and a plea to the governor to not sign that bill. Why? Because it might expose some of our business dealings. That's the point. And I said, yes, that's exactly what we're going to do with it. Now it is out there for everyone and anyone to see. Go to openbooksok.com, or is it .gov, Cindy? .gov. Openbooksok.gov, and you can go on and you can check out pretty much where all the dollars are going. It's in process. We're still adding things to it, but I'll be happy to answer questions. My time is already over, and I just want to thank you guys for being involved in this process. Thanks for being here.